The government needs to decide how to fund its operations, and Congress needs to decide how to do so by December 21st. Now that has led to a giant disagreement between Donald Trump and members of Congress, specifically Democratic members of Congress, who refuse to give him the $5 billion he demands for the border wall. Now, anytime Trump is in political trouble or legal trouble, he immediately pivots to the issue of immigration, and that is what he is doing today. Now, this all started over the weekend when Lindsey Graham had an interview and basically gave Trump advice that he appears to be listening to. Take a look.
Why can't the Senate get on board with the president's border wall funding, sir?
Listen to this. The incoming Speaker of the House has said building a wall along our southern border is immoral. What are you looking at, Nancy Pelosi? Look at the caravan. Look at the charge against the border. Look at the caravans that are to come. Look at the holes in our border security. So here's the problem. You got the Democratic leader to be in the House calling border security a wall component immoral. If I'm President Trump Tuesday, I would tell Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer that we're going to build a wall where it makes sense. If I were the president, I would dig in and not give in on additional wall funding. I'd want the whole $5 billion because the caravan is a game changer.
Now look at that don't tax and spend Republican, because Trump's tax cuts will cost the country $2 trillion over the next 10 years. But Lindsey Graham believes that it is a moral thing to spend $5 billion on a border wall that will do absolutely nothing in terms of immigration. And go ahead.
Yeah, before we get to Trump and how much Lindsey Graham influenced him on Fox News, because it's the only way that anybody influences Donald Trump, by going on Fox News. US Congressman Matt Gaetz said that recently. I wanted to make a case to the president, so I went on Fox. Or normal presidents could take meetings with legislators. That could be an interesting idea. Anyway, Lindsey Graham is a Buffy in search of a Biffy. So he needs a BFF in politics. That's just who he is. For a long time, it was John McCain, and it was Joe Lieberman, and then it was Kelly Ayotte from New Hampshire. And so but he needs that person to cling on to. And so he's like, who's gonna be my best friend forever? Oh yes, I found him in Donald Trump. So this guy who has always been a warmonger, to be fair to Lindsey Graham, he's been horrific on issues of war and doesn't mind killing people all across the world. That's in fact his MO. He's one of the guys who said about North Korea standoff, well, if they have a war there, it'd be the South Koreans who are killed. Who cares? It's not us. So that's not an exact quote, but that is exactly the point of that quote. You can see it online and it is startling, okay? So, but now on other issues that he claimed to be a moderate on, and television would constantly give him credit for being bipartisan on some issues, Lindsey Graham. Now he's like, the border, well, the caravan is a game changer. What do you caravan? Caravan is a game changer, how? For insane people who believe that they were gonna sneak into the country and that they were not seeking legal asylum. Well, they're sitting there seeking legal asylum. You were 100% wrong on every part of that conspiracy theory. But Lindsey Graham's like, Donald Trump, you are so right. That caravan has me in the vapors, or whatever they do down in South Carolina, okay? And so now he's like, Biffy, please don't give in to Nancy Pelosi. All right, Lindsey, I see you.
Well, it appears that Lindsey Graham has had some influence over Trump, because today Trump had a meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. The meeting was meant to be a closed door meeting, but Trump decided that he wanted to be transparent. And I believe, fortunately, we were able to see everything go down. It was very salty, so we're gonna give you a few clips and then discuss what happened next. Take a look.
If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll tell you what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not gonna blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down.
So look, I gotta say, everybody's criticizing Donald Trump for this, but and making it seem like Schumer and Pelosi won the day. I don't necessarily agree with that. So they're calling it a temper tantrum. I get it, right? And did Trump seem like a cool-headed, rational president? Are we really having that conversation? Okay, but Chuck, look him in the eyes and go right back at him. No, you're not gonna have that wall. How do you like me now? Okay, but no, he doesn't. He looks away and he's awkward and can't wait to get out of the room. And in terms of shutting down the government, the Democrats are so afraid. Don't shut it down. Don't shut it down. Don't shut it down. You don't want to be blamed for it. It's BS. It's a total excuse for giving the corporate donors what they want, right? And they hide behind it. Now here's the problem. Trump took that away. Said, I'm going to be responsible for shutting it down. Now that's the go-to excuse that Democrats have. So I'm super curious how they're going to react now that they don't have an excuse anymore for selling out. Because Trump took responsibility for it. We're done with it, right?
Right.
I'm curious to see how it breaks out.
But remember that, look, I don't know, and we can only speculate how much it would hurt Trump if they do shut down the government over this border wall. I'm inclined to agree with you because what Trump is doing there is playing into his base, and we're gonna show you some numbers, overwhelmingly support the funding for the border wall. Even though, a huge portion of our undocumented immigrants came here through visas and overstaying their visas. But anyway, the wall wouldn't do anything to help that situation. Now, Trump did flip-flop in the matter of minutes. So before he had made that statement, minutes before, at the beginning of the meeting, the president said the opposite, quote, I'd like not to see a government closing, a shutdown, we will see what happens. So he flip-flops, he will say whatever's convenient for him at any given moment. But I also agree with you that Chuck Schumer's body language there did not, it just didn't reveal a fighter. If anything, if you're watching that video, he's like kind of cowering and looking down. It's strange. Now, with that said, that was only a little bit of the meeting. There was more, so let's take a look at that.
In the House, a majority of votes for a wall, no matter where you start.
Exactly right. You don't have to.
If I needed the votes for the wall in the House, I would have them in one session,
Well,
would be done.
Go do it.
It doesn't help because we need 10 Democrats in the Senate. It doesn't help for me to take a vote in the House where I will win easily with the Republicans.
You will not win.
It doesn't help to take that vote because I'm not going to get the vote
Don't put
of
it
the
on
Senate. I need
Senate.
10 senators. That's
Mr.
the problem.
President.
You just say my way or we'll shut down the government. We have a proposal that Democrats and Republicans will support to do a CR that will not shut down the government. We urge you to take it.
And if it's not good border security, I won't take it.
It is very good border security.
And if it's not good border security, I won't take it.
It's what the
Because when you look at these numbers of the effectiveness of our border security, and when you look at the job that we're doing
you
with our
just said
military,
it is effective.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, you just said it's
Without
effective.
a wall, these are only areas where you have the walls.
We want to do
where
this.
you have walls, Chuck, it's effective.
We-
Where you don't have walls, it is not effective.
Okay, look, let me just give Nancy Pelosi a little bit of credit. She was a little bit more forthright with the president and saying, look, you're not gonna win the vote in the House anyway. Now, Trump didn't let her finish the point, and I wish all the Democrats would speak up. So her point is, you're not gonna even have enough Republicans voting with you on this border wall, and there's a very good reason for that. It's the numbers that Anna's gonna give you, but here, I'll give you one right now. 69% of Americans say building the wall should not be an immediate priority. 69%. So Chuck, turn around, look them in the eye and say 7 out of 10 Americans don't believe you have the correct priorities, and we're not going to let you do it to appease a tiny portion of this country who is your base that you've ginned up into this fear and hatred of immigrants. I know for a Democrat that's shocking to actually call out the president face to face on national television. You have every camera in the world right in front of you, Chuck. Speak up, speak up. That is a perfect time to make your case.
So he actually did speak up, but I feel like he didn't do it in the right context. He could have done it right there in front of Trump. Instead, the weird, awkward body language, he seemed a little timid compared to what we saw from Trump. I mean, Trump's hitting him back aggressively and Schumer didn't in that moment. Later on though, Schumer did have a press conference and he did address Trump's temper tantrum, and here's what he had to say.
This Trump shutdown, this temper tantrum that he seems to throw will not get him his wall, and it'll hurt a lot of people because he will cause a shutdown. If he sticks to his position for a $5 billion wall, he will get no wall and he will get a shutdown. The bottom line is very, very simple. and that is we want border security. We offered him border security, but Americans know that the wall, not paid for by Mexico anymore, is not the way to border security.
So why didn't he mention the fact that Mexico will not be paying for the wall while he was there in the room with Trump, while the cameras are there, while everyone's watching? That is when you can embarrass the president and point out the fact that he lied to the American people, that he consistently lies to his base, that this will cost $5 billion in taxpayer money after we just cut taxes to the point where we're gonna lose $2 trillion over the next 10 years. It is not a fiscally responsible thing to do, and it does not solve the immigration issue.
Look, Democrats seem to be celebrating today. They felt that that was a big win in that interaction because Trump looked irrational. So look, it's so easy to win against Donald Trump. 7 out of 10 Americans are against him. But no, that's not a win. Look, they just don't have the strength and the courage to fight back. And that was on ample display there. He waits till the press conference to make his points. Well, a lot less people covered the press conference. We're at least doing our jobs, and we gave you that. But everyone covered that conflict in the White House. That's where you need to speak up. And I mean, look, here's what it's easy to say, here's what I would have done. But you know me if you watch the Young Turks. You're goddamn right I would have done it. You turn to Donald Trump and you go, you said Mexico was gonna pay for it. Where's the money, Donald? Where's the money? You said Mexico was gonna pay for it. Where is it? And he can't answer that question, okay? But Chuck, this is temper tantrum. Somebody's yelling at me. And they think that's a big win. I don't think that's a big win. I think the body language is terrible. And I think that, yes, his base will be ecstatic, Trump's base. Yes, most people already don't like Trump, but if you're a person who's not sure about politics and you're not following any of the issues, you look at that and you go, yeah, that seems a little uncivil. On the other hand, one guy seems to be fighting for folks and the other one doesn't. So I'm not sure it's as big a win as Democrats think it is.
Right, and if it is a win, it's only based on whether or not the American people care a lot about funding the government. Now, I think people who are responsible do care about it. They understand the ramifications of not passing a spending bill in time, but is that enough for Trump to be punished? Like, are there enough people in his base that care enough about it to punish him if he's taken this pledge of not funding the government over the border wall?
No, they don't. They think it's a game. They've never seen the real consequences. And so when Democrats say, oh no, people will be panicked if the government's shut down. No, they won't. I mean, look, the defense contractors or whatever. I mean, like giant people who make giant companies that make a ton of money off the government, they'll be in a panic, and that's why the corporate Democrats are in a panic. So you know what I would do? I'd say, okay, Trump said it was his shutdown. Not only after I yell at him in the White House, I'd do a press conference, say, hey, listen, when the government shuts down, I got news for the red states. You're not gonna get any Medicaid checks. You're not gonna get any food stamp checks. And then we'll find out who actually gets food stamps and Medicaid. I already know it's largely red state white people that vote for Republicans.
It's true.
So I'm gonna make them cry until they go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, government. I'm so sorry, I really, really need you. Let me hear you say it, okay? You think Democrats are gonna do that? No. Oh no, don't offend the red states, don't offend Republicans, don't look at Donald Trump, don't look at him in the eye. So yeah, Trump, it's a loss for him because he's a clown and people don't agree with him. But it's a really low bar. I don't think that was a win for the Democrats at all, at least Democratic leadership.
So since we promised you some of the numbers regarding public opinion on this very issue, I want to go to a recent poll that was done by NPR, PBS NewsHour, and Marist. And here's what they found, graphic 8. By a 21-point margin, 57% to 36%, Americans think the president should compromise on the wall to avoid a government shutdown rather than stand firm. Now that's the overall population, okay? But if you look at Republicans specifically, 2/3 of them agree with Trump. They do not want him to compromise. They believe that the president should be focused on maintaining his base.
So I want to give one more set of numbers. I told you that more than 2/3, 69%, do not believe building a wall should even be an immediate priority for Congress. Half do not even believe it should ever be a priority. So we clearly have majority to overwhelming majority on our side. Even if they wanted to build a wall, they're like, don't do it now. We got a lot of bigger priorities, which is 100% true. Only 28% believe said that it should be an immediate priority, but among Republicans, that number was 63%. So you understand the dynamic at play. The Republican Party wants Trump to do whatever he needs to do, shut down the government, et cetera, and be a tough guy to fund the border wall. The rest of the country, including independents, do not want it. Only 28% of the country wants that, right? So at the end of the day, Trump is sticking up for his base, and the Democrats, I mean, if they're standing up at all, they're barely standing up, and they represent 70% of the country. They should be roaring. They should be in Trump's grill, yelling at him. He should come out and do a press conference going, oh my God, they were too tough on me. They kept yelling at me. It was a temper tantrum, right? So if you represent 70% of the country, you should act like it. By the way, those are the religious leaders being arrested at the border. Right?
Yep.
And so religious leaders, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, et cetera, went down to help
the migrant caravan.
The migrant caravan, because it's a humanitarian crisis. By the way, Donald Trump at one point in his tweet said the southern border is now secure because of me. Then why do you need the wall?
I mean, that's what Schumer did point out in the middle of that argument, because first he starts talking about how terrible border security is, we're in a lot of trouble, and then he pivots to how great border security is, he's doing a great job with immigration. So again, Trump, even within the same meeting, same press conference, same appearance, will go back and forth based on what's convenient for him and what's best for him in the argument he's trying to make at that given moment. It's crazy.
Bottom line is, everyone else in the media will tell you that that was a home run for the Democrats, as good as it gets. The second part is true. Unfortunately, with Democratic leadership, this is as good as it gets. But overall, if Trump did any damage, it was him doing damage to himself. I don't think the Democrats effectively fought back at all. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.